to the Elite Life Podcast with your hosts, Trisha and Kylie. Here, we guide you on a journey of personal and professional transformation, revealing the secrets to success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we unlock the doors to the elite world of growth, grit, and grace. So, let's dive in.
What up, Elite Lifers? You are here. I'm Kylie. That's Trisha. And we are super excited about this episode because we are talking about something that can literally change your life. Literally. That's the new like. People aren't saying like anymore. They're saying literally.
Yeah, I'm saying ridiculous a lot. I picked up that one.
Ridiculous.
But that's okay. So if you've ever felt like you hit a wall in life, whether it's your career, fitness, personal growth, we want to tell you about a book that will shake up your world, change your mindset, and just launch you into excellence. And it is the book by David Goggins. It is called Never Finished. And it just really shows you how to push yourself and, go through the only limits that we place on ourselves, the only limits we have in life are the ones we place on ourselves. Like, he is just he's amazing. And I'm excited for this episode because I am currently in the middle of reading Never Finished for the second time.
So is it one of those books then where you can just read it through several seasons of life and just kind of get those nuggets and get that motivation?
Yeah, because it's not even like, it's not just that he motivates you, he just teaches you like how to break free from those like just mental and physical shackles. Like it's just so inspirational, and it's like, if he can do that, I can do this, like he just does such amazing things.
If he can run until his legs are broken and duct tape them and keep running, exactly. I can definitely meal prep for 4 hours.
Absolutely. Like, he's literally, like, the part that I'm in right now, he's running a 240 mile race, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, so let's jump into the details.
Quick overview. This is Goggins' second book, and it builds on the themes from the first one, which is called Can't Hurt Me, but this time he dives a little deeper into what it actually takes to continue growing and evolving no matter where you're at in life, like Trisha said.
Yeah, it's a very like raw and intense look at Goggins' just relentless pursuit of self-mastery. He talks about his struggles both in the past and in the present. If you read Can't Hurt Me, that's a lot about like more of like a personal memoir. Like, it talks a lot about his life, like growing up and when he was a kid and the things that he went through. But this one just really shows how, number one, he refuses to let any of that stuff define him. And then one of his central themes is that like we're all unfinished, and like no matter how much we've achieved, there's always room for growth. At this point where he's writing this book, he's a major like speaker out in the world. He's making huge money. He's, he talks about how he's got to this like comfortable phase, which is amazing considering where he came from, which was nothing. He's abused and like went through so much and just all of this, like he was like killing cockroaches and over 300 pounds and just an absolute nothing. And this is actually, Can't Hurt Me is where Andy got his accountability mirror from. So like there's a lot of great takeaways from Can't Hurt Me, and then he just brings it into this book, and it's amazing.
Share with us one key lesson from the book, like one that really stands out to you.
Well, like I talked about, there's the accountability mirror where he talks about how like taking a look at yourself with honesty and really confronting your weakness and then doing something about it. Like, you hear so many people that will make excuses like, yeah, I've gained a little weight, but it's because of the stress in my life. No, it's not. No, it's
you like
not.
cookies at 10
It's
o'clock.
because
Hi, that's me.
Yeah, you sit
my
and
name's
eat
Kylie.
a freaking pizza or a jar of peanut butter or this or that. Like Andy Frisella was talking about this on his podcast the other day that I listened to, and it was about, I sent it to you. You probably didn't listen because you didn't tell me how amazing it was.
Wait, you sent me something now? Did you text it to me?
Yes, I
Okay, now I
texted
have
it
to
to
go
you,
back.
and it was an Andy. I hadn't listened to Andy Frisella's
I haven't been
podcast in
listening
a
to it
while.
either.
I hadn't either, and this came across my email, and he's talking about how like you need to be honest with people, and like we have an accountability group right now for 75 Hard, and one of the people in the group was like, you know, I've gained some weight, but I know a big part about it's stress, but I'm doing this diet, and I'm like, well, you know, what are your goals with doing this program, right? Like if your goal is to lose weight, then you have to be honest with yourself. Like, yes, you may have been stressed, but that stress led you to eating, and that food that you intook led to your weight gain. Okay. So you need to be honest with yourself. Are you doing this program to get yourself back in shape? Because then you do need to count your macros and you do need to count your calories. And we can all sit back, and I do this too. I'm not saying like I'm any better than anybody else. Like you give yourself these excuses in your mind, like, well, I can't have dairy and I can't have gluten, so I just won't track my calories and macros. I'll just allow myself to eat as much, you know, nuts and meat as I want to because I can't have these other things. And just like we've said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And you need to stop giving yourself this get out of jail free card like, oh, well, I'm really stressed out in my life, so I can allow myself to not work out and eat whatever I want. Well, then when you're fat, guess what? It's your fault. It's your fault because you have control over your life. You are the person that decides what you put in your mouth, how you move your body, and you can give yourself all the excuses you want at the end of the day. But when you stand and you look yourself in the mirror, that's your accountability mirror, and you have to be honest with yourself. Like Andy said, he put on his accountability mirror. You got fat. You are lazy because you're being lazy, so you got fat. You ate crappy food, so you got fat. Like you can sit here and blame it on whatever you want to blame it on, but at the end of the day, it's your fault. And people don't want to hear that. And they want to say that people are mean that say it. But that's the raw, honest truth. Look yourself in the mirror. Because you're the one that made those choices that got you to where you are today. Who you see today is a direct reflection of what you've done for the last weeks, months, years of your life. So if you don't like who you see when you look in the mirror, you have nobody to blame but yourself. And
I think circling back really quick, just a sidetrack, because I want to jump into some more of what he talks about in the book. Just circling back to what you said, like, oh, I eat because I'm stressed. Well, like, what are you stressing out about? And this is a hard one for me because how many times do I tell you, oh, I'm eating because I'm stressed. Oh, I'm drinking because I'm stressed. Oh, I'm smoking because I'm stressed. Like, and you're like, what are you stressed out about? And then I tell you all of these things that are going on in my life. And you're like, number one, most of that crap is normal. Number two, either fix it or ask for help. And that's what I love about, like you said, you have the accountability group. If you don't have an accountability partner, someone like Trisha who can be honest with you and tell you, like Trisha will look at me and be like, yeah, your kids are crazy because you let them run wild and you don't have a schedule. Or, yeah, you're tired because you stay up late because your kids go to bed late. Like, and we were just talking about this, I think, right before we started this episode, is it really all does come down to you. Oh, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about garbage on Facebook. Yeah. And people are on there and they're in the trough of sorrows and they're talking about their crappy baby daddy, or they're talking about how nobody loves them. And it's literally all up to you. It really is.
It is. And here's the thing, like me and Dave were having a walk yesterday and we were I was like, man, last year, like thinking about last year, so many things went wrong that were out of our control. They were, you know, situations that happened to our kids or their teams or this or that. They weren't things that were in our control. The only thing that we could control was how we responded to them. And we came out of those situations stronger. But here's what is true. No matter who you are and no matter how hard you work to better yourself and better your life, bad stuff is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you get what you negotiate. And how you come out of that is all about how you look at the situation and address it and take action in it. Like, that's one thing. Like, I get a lot of things wrong in life, but one thing I get right is I am always taking action. I don't sit there and allow life to happen to me. I'm going to go out and do some stuff about it. Like, if my pants don't fit, you better believe I'm going on phase 1 and I am following my diet and I'm measuring my food and I am telling people I don't eat cake and I am passing on this and I am passing on that. And I do that without apologies because I draw firm boundaries, because when I didn't have boundaries, like we were just joking about people moving into my house, like old Trisha had no boundaries and she'd be like, yeah, I feel bad. They can go ahead and move in my little house. And then I'd be, oh man, now my house is a mess and my life is a mess. Whose fault is that? It's my own fault because I didn't draw boundaries. I have to be brutally and just unapologetically like honest with myself and with the people around me. Otherwise, my life is a mess. And I love that. I love that about David Goggins. And I love that about this book is like, he's like, face your flaws, be brutally honest about it, and then take action. And that message, it's so empowering. It's empowering to know that like, no matter how messy it is, and even though it's not your fault, you have the power to do whatever you want to do with your life.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, that's your own fault.
Yeah, and he another big lesson that we've got, from this book is he constantly challenges himself and his followers or readers, fans, whatever you want to call them, to push beyond what we think we're capable of. He says you can always become more. You have to believe that you're capable of so much more than what you've done so far. And it's really all comes down to constantly pushing that ceiling higher, which is not always easy to do. Not always easy to do.
No, it's not. But I think that what is true is when you start to realize that you can continue to push back physical limits and push through mental limits, you realize that there's nothing you can't do. Like running a marathon for me really made me come to full grips with like how much you can push through physically and mentally, and you have so much more inside of you. Like he talks about that in his books. Like you may think you're done, but then you can go so much further. Like he's talking about in the book how he's like, I don't want to give spoilers, there's so many good stories in it, but he talks about how he's climbing up this mountain and his chest is getting tighter and tighter. And David Goggins, like he's a sickly man. Like he has a hole in his heart, he has sickle cell anemia, he has asthma, he has all of these problems, and he's like crawling up this mountain and his lungs are filling with fluid, and he's running this 240-mile race. So the only way to get out of it is to keep going. And when I read his books, like when I read Can't Hurt Me and I read about how he duct taped his legs, dude, that pulled me through that marathon, because I'm like, I have not duct taped my legs to finish this marathon. I can keep going. And do you know, in that marathon, I was like fully K-taped. Like my ankle was K-taped, my knees were K-taped, my shins were K-taped. I had fractured the front bone. What is that? Fibia?
Your tibia.
Yeah, I had fractured my tibia.
Your shin bone.
Your shin bone. I had fractured it. And I was in a boot. And I asked my physical therapist, I was like, if I take this boot off and go run the marathon, will I be able to run it? And he's like, yeah, you'll be able to run it. Like, you're going to be a mess afterwards. And I was like, okay, but I can. And he's like, oh yeah, you can do anything. And I ran it, like coming out of a walking boot. And after that, like as I continued to run the next marathon and do the next thing, it was like, oh, you've already done this. And so like as they got harder, like when I ran in Honolulu, it was hot and I'm running at altitude up a literal mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm telling myself, like, you ran on basically a broken leg. You can run up this mountain. What is this? Your legs are totally fine now. And so when you do these hard things, it makes you realize like there's so much more in me. Like there was a day when I couldn't run a mile. And how would I have known then that there was a whole marathon inside of me? I would have never guessed that in a million years. And so he talks about like, you gotta keep pushing. You will think you're done, but you are not anywhere near done.
Yeah, our bodies are truly amazing. And I like what you said about like the limits that we have are, it's like when you tell me, I'll come into your office, I'll be like, I'm tired. And you're like, you're not tired. We don't get tired. You're not tired. You're not tired. Because like Trisha said before with all of her college education, once you put that out there, once you say something, your brain goes to work to make it happen. And what stories are you telling yourself, right? What stories are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself that you're exasperated with your kids, that you're exhausted, that you're tired, that you're stressed? Or are you saying, I'm blessed with my kids. My kids are healthy. Everything's fine. They're rambunctious. You know, they might need to be redirected here and there, but like we've got food. Like it's really all about the story that you tell yourself. And I have these conversations with Ryan sometimes because he is the realist in our relationship. And so I don't want to say he's negative. But from hanging out with you, I'm completely positive. Not all the time, but I'm like, we were talking about something and he was just having kind of like a negative lens on it, a very realistic lens, because he's got something coming up with his work that will completely change our lives, and it's going to be hard going through it, but at the end it's going to be really worth it. And he's like, I want you to understand, like, this is going to be hard and I'm going to be gone and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, I think your perspective is really interesting because you're sitting here telling me we're not going to see each other, I'm going to be gone, I'm going to be working, my body's going to be tore up, and I'm over here like, I'm going to handle the kids. I'm going to be a boss. I'm going to go to work. I'm still going to make my money. I'm going to make sure there's food when you get home. I'm going to make sure you have clean clothes. Like, it's really all about how you approach the situation and what you're telling yourself as you're going through it.
Yeah. And, you know, there's one thing that I got from, I mentioned that book Whole30, I think it was on the last episode, but at the beginning of the book, she talks about how, like, you know, you're giving up sugar and you're saying, like, this is going to be hard. Like Ryan saying this is going to be hard. You know what's hard? Having cancer.
Yeah.
You know what's hard? Having a spouse die or a child die. These things that we say are hard are not hard.
No.
Like we need to stop saying
first world
like,
problems.
Yeah.
All the way.
Not hard. Not hard. There's so many things that are so much harder, and we've got through them.
Yeah.
We have got through some real serious hard times. So these things that we're like, oh, we won't be able to see each other. Who cares? In 5 years, are you going to be like, hey, remember that month of September in 2024 that we didn't get to see each other a lot?
Because you were working your ass off,
No.
and now we have hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's not hard. And that like brings me to like, there's some quotes that I put in here from the book. And
Yeah, share those.
Like, Goggins says, the path to success will leave you feeling like an underdog and empty-handed at times. But if you stay focused on what truly matters, you will prevail.
That's amazing.
And that is so true. There are so many nights that I come out of the Livonia office and the parking lot is empty and I am exhausted and I look and I just smile because I'm like, as lonely and as tired as I am in this moment, I'm the only one even in the whole plaza, better yet in my office. What an amazing life I have made that like I can turn around and this big old space is mine, right?
Yeah.
Like we built this together and I'm a part of something special. And even though I feel alone and I feel exhausted, I'm like, oh my gosh, what an awful day. What an amazing blessing, right?
Absolutely. And it's such a great reminder that, you know, too, success is not always immediate or glamorous. You know, it's really comes down to perseverance, and it's about staying the course, you know, even when things are not going your way. And Goggins reminds us that those tough moments are part of the process. I was actually thinking about this yesterday because my friend posted, God bless her, she's got 3 kids. One of them's sick. One of them has something going on, like a disability. Their washer stopped. They can't use the water in their house. Their toilet's backing up. Their dryer doesn't work. Like literally everything is going sideways. And, you know, I was having a great day and I sent her some hugs and some blessings and stuff. But it's like when you, like, there are going to be hard days. Success is about when you are on those mountain peaks and you're looking back, having that feeling like you just talked about of, I did that. We got through it. And it actually wasn't that bad. And I always go back to when I had to give birth to children without any medication. Like, you psych yourself up and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. This is going to be, no, I got through it. I was not that bad. Even when I was going through it, I can visually remember shaking from the adrenaline. And then when I was done, I had this beautiful gift from God, and I felt like Superwoman. I went around and told everybody that I pushed a human out of my body with 0 meds. But there are going to be those 0 med days for sure. And there are going to be the trophy days. But what I love about everything that this guy stands for is that you just keep going. You just keep going.
Yeah. And that's another one that like really hit home for me is he says like, there is no finish line. There's no done. There's only,
not till you're dead.
Yeah. There's only going to be the relentless pursuit of becoming better, because Goggins doesn't believe in the idea of being finished. Like, he's always looking for ways to grow. Like, oh, I ran a 100-mile race. I want to do this 240-mile race. Oh, I end up in the hospital halfway through. Well, next year I'm going to do it again. You know, like, even after achieving things that most people would consider absolutely impossible, he's looking for the next thing that he can do and make possible.
And I think that is a huge difference between people, we'll just say people who are successful, and obviously success looks different for everybody. I am not talking about having tons of money. I'm talking about having what brings you joy, having what, I don't want to say being like comfortable or complacent, but just having that joy and having those goals be completed and checking those things off the list, whether it's a daily list, a weekly list, a lifetime list, I completely lost it.
Well, what you're saying is like success is growth. Like, instead of saying, like, I'm so far, like, there's so many people that are so much further than me, right? But what I look at as success is when you can look back and say, wow, that's where I was and who I was, and look at how far I've came, and you see that continually happen day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Yeah, like, and I'm to the point where a lot of times I will feel like I'm failing, and then I'll look at my year. That's why I'm always auditing, because I look at my year and I'm like, holy crap, dude, I have like slayed some things, because now they become habits. Like, it's no longer like, oh, it's a goal to work out 5 times this week. No, I work out every day. That's part of my habits, So a lot of times things that were goals just become habits, and then it just becomes your lifestyle, and then it just becomes your identity, right? So it's like you're constantly looking for ways to grow, and you're constantly raising the bar and raising the bar and raising the bar. And that's the thing, like, there's always more.
And that's what I was trying to say is I think that's the difference between people who are successful and people who are quote unquote not successful is you reach that goal and then you take a breath. And then you say, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? What am I doing next? What's happening next? Rather than kicking your feet up and being like, I've arrived.
Oh, yeah. I can remember the day we were unpacking in the Livonia office. I was tore up. I mean, literal, my blood, sweat, and tears went into putting that office together. Like, my blood is on the desks. I personally was building desks and chairs. And I walked out and I looked at the parking lot, and there was a space next to our office. And all I thought about immediately, we hadn't even had the staff in yet, and I'm like, oh, I could open another office. And I'm just like, you are wild, like, I have just went through this over year-long process of getting us building a new office for us, and then I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do next?
Exactly. And that's what I love too about David Goggins is, like we've said, like, he'll do a thing and then he'll be like, what's next? And so if you take nothing else from this, take stock of your life, be perfectly honest with where you're at and where you want to be. I'm pretty happy. I have an awesome family. I have an awesome husband. My kids are healthy. We have an awesome house. But like I was just telling Trisha, there are other little things, right? I got my books up. That was a huge, amazing thing. You have to keep, even if it doesn't seem big to you, just keep going. Just keep hitting those goals, keep setting those goals. What can I do next to make myself better, make my life better, make my processes better, make my life less stressful?
Yeah. And to get to there, what did you have to do? You had to embrace discomfort. And that's the big thing. That's what Goggins talks about. That's what we're always talking about. Like, you have to be willing to embrace discomfort and understand that all your growth happens outside of your comfort zone. So some really easy things that our listeners can implement, because we're talking about taking action, is like, start with the accountability mirror. Take a hard look at yourself and put up some Post-its around your bathroom mirror that will make you wake up in the morning and be like, you know what? I am honest and I am open and I'm committed to making progress. And then challenge yourself daily. Like, Goggins is big on pushing yourself past your limits. So whether it's your fitness, your career, your personal life, like, find ways to test yourself, set a goal to grow in each of those buckets, and then take accountability of where you're at and audit and push, audit and push, audit and push. See where you can grow in each of those spaces. And the compound effect is amazing. It turns into a great, amazing life. There's always more.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Well, that's a wrap for us today. Do you have any other notes? Any final thoughts you want to share with the class?
I just hope you guys were inspired and like go out and get these books. Can't Hurt Me and Never Finish. Like I said, I'm reading Never Finish for the second time. I read a lot. It's not often that I read a book twice. It's got to be a good one. And I'm talking about, I consume almost 100 books a year. So
she consumes. She doesn't read. She consumes like fire.
Serious business if I'm reading one for a second time.
I love that. I'm so glad that you shared all of this with us. I am currently super motivated and inspired now to continue on with some of the things that I've been working towards.
Yeah.
I hope all of you listeners out in listener land feel inspired, motivated. If take one nugget, take one thing and implement that in your own life to just level up, make things better, feel better, and make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other amazing episodes. We drop fresh content here every Thursday, so come back next week for some more Elite Life.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on the Elite Life Podcast with Trish and Kylie. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend so we can keep delivering you more fantastic insights on grit, grace, and growth. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook, where we'll keep the ideas flowing to help you build a life you love and leave a legacy you can be proud of. Until next time.